O Great Spirit, Namaste. Saints and sages of all times, of all places, Namaste. O ye pathmakers of old, Namaste. Om Shri Babaji Ya Namaha. Om Shri Lahiri Mahasayaji Ya Namaha. Om Shri Yukateshwarji Ya Namaha. Om Shri Yoganandaji Ya Namaha. Om Shri Shaliji Ya Namaha. Om Shri Kriyanandaji Ya Namaha. Om Shanti. Sweep clear the path. Om Shanti. May our communication be clear. Om Shanti. May our time together be blessed, be fruitful, be meaningful. Om Shanti. 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 Namaste Ji. Welcome to my heart and welcome to our Sunday Sangha. Once upon a yogi time, this was a real yogi time, there lived a young man named Muktananda. You may know him by his later name, Yogananda. When Muktananda was a little boy, all he wanted was to see the Divine Mother, to meditate, to see the Divine Mother. That's all he wanted. Go to the Himalayas, find his guru, see the Divine Mother. If he could see the Divine Mother in his home, that was fine. He was devoted to his spiritual practice. His papa would say, to the detriment of everything else. But Yogananda, through all of his life, had to discern what was important. Just like you and I have to discern what is important. What do we need to let go of? What do we need? How do we need to let the other person, let them go first? They're on the expressway and they want to get someplace. That's okay. Pull over. Let them go first. No need to cause disruption in the earth. Let the other go first. Know what is important to you. Now, Yogananda was told by his guru that he needed to go to America. You know, you gotta really think about this. I mean, this was in the 1930s. And Yogananda had started a school for boys, and later girls came to that school. He was in India. He was near his family. He was near his guru. And he was teaching yoga. And he was also teaching other sciences, other skills that the children needed. And his guru said to him, you need to go to America. You know, in the Indian culture, it is different than in America, very different than in America. In the Indian culture, the guru says something, and the disciple does not say, okay, I'll think about it. The disciple says, Namaste Ji, yes sir. Yogananda didn't like it. But there came a day when he had a dream. And he knew that that dream meant that he needed to go to America. He needed to do what his guru had asked him to do. So he left the ashram. He left the school right away. Next morning, 3 o'clock, he left to come to America. Now, he had to decide what was important when he left. When he left, he had a full beard and long, long hair. Beautiful, curly, dark, long hair. Beautiful, dark eyes Yoganandaji has. In India, all of the Brahmins, and he was from a Brahmin family, they wear beards. They don't cut their beard. It's very sacred. The beard is a sacred symbol in yoga tradition when the man can grow it. The hair is a sacred symbol in yoga tradition. Long hair, beard. And he wore the orange robes of a sannyasi. So he gets on a passage to America, dark-skinned, long hair, beard, and orange robes, and funky shoes. And he's in a first-class cabin. So Papa had given him first-class ticket. He didn't have a way to get there otherwise. People thought he was strange. And he had to overcome his shyness. He had to overcome his discomfort. He had to overcome his insecurities about not speaking English as well as he thought he should. He was asked to give a talk on the boat, on the ship, on the way over. And he stood there and froze. Couldn't speak, couldn't say anything. All he could do was call on his guru and say, help me to know what's important to say to these people today. Just like I'm calling on my guru. And he spoke, and his English was beautiful. He lands in Boston, of all places. Boston, one of the most proper places in America. Again, long beard, long hair, orange robes, dark skin. Not common in America at that time. Not common. He was frustrated in the beginning. Everything was foreign. And if you think about this, the little things were foreign. He was from a Brahmin family. He sat down at the table and food was brought to him. They say that when he first came, he went to stay at the YMCA while he was waiting for the International Congress to begin. And he saw a drinking fountain and he didn't know what it was. And he had to watch the others to see how they got water, what they did, how they got water. He went to sit in the dining room, waiting to be served, without knowing it was a self-service dining room. Many little things, and I'm using these little examples. They're small, petite things, but for your personality, for my personality, for his personality, it's the little things that sometimes can be the hardest. I'm hungry, and then I don't know what all these foods are comprised of. I don't know what they are. How do I know what to eat? Eat milk and bread. They can't harm that too much. They can't put meat in it. It was little things, one little thing after another, that he had as a challenge. Again, full beard, long hair. Now, he had made some friends. And these friends were from the boat coming over, the ship coming over. And they had been telling him that he needed to shave his beard. That he would be more accepted in America if he'd shave his beard. that it wasn't acceptable what he was doing. Yogananda had to decide what was important. In India, it was important that he had the beard. In India, it was important that he had the long hair. But in America, people were turned off. They couldn't hear what he was saying because of the beard and the long hair. He shaved the beard. And it is said he never, ever grew a beard back while he was in America. He left his beard, his face, hairless from that time forward. But he kept the long hair. And what he would do, when he realized that he needed to decide what was important and how to adapt to the country, what he did was put his hair in a rubber band, just like my guru did, and stick it under the collar of his shirt, or pin it up under a hat. In fact, one time he sent his guru a picture. They had taken a picture of him with a hat on, and his guru wrote back, "Well, you've become so westernized, you cut your hair." Yogananda had him take a photograph of him with his hair long and out and say, "No, Guruji, I still have my hair. I was just trying to adapt." And what he discovered was all these things that were important, the orange robes, his malas, his hair, his beard, the symbols of his station in life had to be put aside in America. Most of the time when he went out in public then, he began to wear suits and shirts and ties. Always when he spoke in public, he would put his orange robes on, his sannyasi robes. But when he was out dealing among people, this is what he did. Now, why am I emphasizing all these little things? Because Yogananda Ji had to decide what was important and what he needed to set aside. What of his preferences he needed to say, "Okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. Okay, I'm going to let that go." Sometimes we have to let go of our hair. It may be an important symbol, but sometimes life necessitates that this is what occurs. I'm going to say to you today something that is important spiritually and may be a shock. But along the spiritual path, we need to let go. You've heard this before. Let go of your attachment to your preferences. And here's the thing, become passive. Did she really say become passive? Yes. Become passive. Know what your life is about, my beloved. Know what it's really about. Discern those things that are important to you. And let go of those things which are no longer important. Be able to look at life circumstances and say, yes, this is important. No, that is not important. I must let go of that which is not important, and I must be able to discern the difference between the two. This is not easy, because so often we become attached to the way something was. We like the way it was. We had great experiences with the way it was. And then it changes. And the mind becomes, if you will, angry. It becomes greedy. It wants the past. It wants those things that were in the past. It longs for, it is greedy for what you already had. It doesn't want to let go of what you already had. It clings to what you already had. Instead of saying, the time for that is past. I must adjust to the new reality. Now, I don't have to be aggressive in my filling. I just need to sit back and let life show me that which needs to be done. Be quiet. Now, why is it important to become passive? That sounds like it sounds antithetical to Kriya Yoga, doesn't it? I mean, Kriya is sacred action. Yoga is yoking your mind and body together, and I'm telling you to become passive. Now, becoming passive really means that you and we need to discern what is important. Saying it again, what is important in your life? That next promotion, you'll have it for 48 hours, and you'll start longing for the one after that. You'll see, there's somebody who's got more power than I do. In my career, my work career, I was very blessed to work in positions where I was assisting presidents of large corporations. So my work entailed work that always brought me into really close contact with the president and the CEO and the board of directors of a number of large companies. And I learned an enormous amount. I saw people get promoted to the CEO of an international global corporation. And I saw 2 years later, the board escorting them out the door. I saw president after president after president of groups promoted, and accolades and speeches, many of which I wrote or the people that worked with me wrote. A year later, 2 years later, they're no longer in that position. The karma has passed, the time gate has passed. And what is the most difficult thing there? It's one of them told me, one who got escorted out because of a purported violation of some SEC rules. And 2 years later, he was cleared. He was cleared. And didn't have to have been removed from his position, but he lost his name, lost his reputation, he lost his job. He was never going to work in a publicly traded company again. And he had worked and worked and worked for this dream. And I wrote him a note and said, I'm really glad to hear that, you finally, this is off of your plate. And he said, oh, yes, but, I've lost everything. Because all those people who heard about all this stuff, they won't hear that my name was cleared. And he said some other things that to me were quite profound. But what it came to, what he was telling me was, I thought that these things were important. And I have come to realize that they were not important. That that's not what my life is about. It's not what my life should be about. Maybe your life isn't about striving for the next promotion. Probably isn't. But here's the spiritual net, if you will, that we get caught in, the net we get caught in. And that is this. That is the desire to exert your preferences over everyone else's. Saw a parent do this the other day, insisting, absolutely insisting, that the child use a specific bathroom to take a shower, when every week they use the other bathroom. I don't know why the father thought that the child needed to use the second bathroom, but he did. And of course it caused a meltdown. The child's like, I know, I don't want to do that. I want to go where I always go. And underneath it all, it felt, whether it was true or not, I don't know, but underneath it all, it felt as if what was happening is that the father wanted his preference to take priority over what his daughter wanted. There wasn't going to be any harm in having her go where she normally went, but he wanted his preference. He wanted to exert his preference. Now, we do this, Is it your preference to get in line in the grocery store? Is it your preference to go first on the highway? Is it your preference to choose the movie or decide what your family's going to eat or where you're going to go or what you're going to talk about? Or, more importantly, is it your preference to decide what they should be thinking, what they should be doing, how your children should be acting, how your friends should be acting, how your spouse should be acting? Is it your preference? Is your preference what you're trying to impose on others? These are the things that we have to become passive about. I don't care, You want to wear polka dots and plaid? It's all right with me. It's fine. You want to have cereal for dinner? Okay, that's all right. You want to have soup for breakfast? Okay, that's all right. Living in America, where most of you live, or living in the West, all right? And I think that at one point America really had this more than other countries, but things are changing so much in Europe now. But one of the beauties about living in the United States is that there's so many people from so many different cultures that have come to live in this country. Now, it used to be you go to France and, there was a certain way of doing things. And you knew, if you knew the proper way to do it in France, this is how it was. This is how you lived in France. And it's very different than Italy, very different than Austria, very different than Germany. And it's a wonderful experience to drive from the south of France up to the north of Austria, because you can literally see when you cross the country lines. A vibration changes, but there are also certain kinds of behaviors that change. So that continent used to be quite orderly. I think now there's been so much integration of people from other countries that it's not as clear as it used to be. But America, my goodness. Now they tell me that the community that I am living in, that we are living in, is the largest growing population of people of Arabic heritage. We also know that in this area we have the largest Hindu population living outside of Delhi. We also know that we have a huge Hispanic population from Mexico and Guatemala and Venezuela. Isn't that fascinating? And here in Chicago, you have a large Polish population. Just 2 miles down the road from our home is the largest Roman Catholic Polish church in America. They have over 2,000 people who come to their Sunday masses every week. What does that mean? Why is that relevant to the idea of becoming passive? You have an awful lot of people from a lot of different cultures wanting, my beloved, their hopes, their dreams, their traditions, their ways of doing things, their ways of speaking, their values. And sometimes, guess what? Those values are in conflict with each other. You go into a temple and you take your shoes off. Or you go into a temple and you would never take your shoes off. You go into a house and you take your shoes off and you put the house shoes on, and you go to the toilet and you take the house shoes off and you put the toilet shoes on and take them as you come out. You don't cross those boundaries. How do you know how to live harmoniously in the world? How do you know? Become passive. Become passive. This means sitting down and breathing, taking a breath. Sometimes you stand in line in the grocery store and you can feel the person behind you like a cloud. You can really feel the person behind you like a cloud, wanting to get through. Step aside and let them get through. We were walking in a park near our home, which has beautiful tulips and lilacs. And last weekend it was beautiful out, and the lilacs are in bloom and massive tulips are in bloom. And to park your car, you either have to pull into the slots facing like this, or you back in. And there was a person who was backing in. And it's easier to back in for some people. He was backing in. And there was one person behind him, and there was another person. The second person behind starts laying on the horn, leans out the door and starts screaming, just screaming at the top of his lungs. The person backs his car in and stays in the car and doesn't want to get out. I mean, obviously is not interested in getting out of the car. The young woman in the first car behind the Parker leaves immediately to get out. And in that second car, a young man in his early 20s gets out of the car raging, just raging, my beloved, just at the top of his lungs, screaming about how much inconvenience he was caused and how much time he lost, and name calling, and it was frightening. It was so violent. And then he gets back in his car and puts the pedal to the metal and races down the street. Oh. Well, fortunately, the Parker had stayed in the car. Didn't respond, just didn't respond. Just stayed in the car and stayed there until the young man left. Now, that's an extreme example, but that's somebody wanting something their way. There's no law that says that you can't back up your car to park in those parking spaces. It's a side street. It's not a busy street. It's a side street by a park in a residential area. But he didn't want to be interrupted. He did not want to be interrupted. I tell you this story to bless that young man, because for each of us, there have been moments in time where we wanted something our way so much that we could have gotten out of the car and started screaming. Now, I'm not saying you ever did it. I'm not saying you would do it. But learn to let go. Learn to say, all right, you go first. All right, I'll pull over. Now, I have to be careful here. And when we teach about this subject, we have to be careful, because becoming passive does not mean letting people walk all over you. Whatever that means, all right? It does not mean allowing yourself to be harmed. It does not mean allowing people to steal from you or to physically abuse you. That's not what it means. But it means knowing what the right action is to align with your life purpose, to align with your joy, to align with your happiness, so that you're not constantly beating or competing or striving to be the best. The best what? And so we have to go back and say, what is it that I'm trying to do? What do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish in my life? What is my life about? Is it about becoming more joyful, becoming happier? I hope yours is about that. Is it about being able to walk through times of heaviness and sorrow and confusion with a little light there, saying, okay, I can do it. I can do it. I know I can do it. I can and I will. I can and I will. The spiritual life is surprisingly about the little things. It's about sitting down and meditating. It's about turning inward and watching the flow of the thoughts that rise and fall in the mind. It's about your habits. It's the little things that make a difference in the spiritual life. Enlightenment will come through the little things. Enlightenment will come through the smile that you give to a stranger, through the kindness, through your listening, through your offering the blessing of your presence, through your compassion and understanding of the other. Being able to say, oh, I see. Yes, you're having a rough time. Yes, I will do my best to help you through this. It is knowing when to adjust, adapt, and acclimatize, to letting go of the things that we think are important and trying to make others comfortable. It's Yogananda knowing that he needed to put his hair in a rubber band. It's my guru knowing that. He came back from his trip around the world, and he had, one of the last places they had been was Japan, and he had cut his beard, not off, but very neatly trimmed, much neater than usual, and shorter than usual, than I ever had seen it before. And oftentimes he wore his hair tied back, but the first little bit of time he came back, he had his hair tied back completely. And I said, I had a close relationship with him, I could ask him. I said, Guruji, may I ask why you cut your beard? I said, oh, sure. And you're wearing your hair back now all the time. And he says, oh, yes, I guess I am. He says, it's very rude in Japan to have a beard. It's considered very coarse. So I didn't want to cut it all the way off, but I trimmed it as neatly as I could, so I would be considered to be more cultured, and I would not offend them by the sign of this wild beard that I sometimes have. And I said, and your hair? He says, oh, no. The same reason, because I wanted them to be comfortable. My hair needed to be neat and pulled back. All the examples I've given you, in all the examples, I'm trying to say to you that when I mean become passive, what I'm trying to express is that on the spiritual life, on the spiritual path, in life, we must know what is important to us, and we must realize what is going to make other people more comfortable and what's not going to make them comfortable. And do as best as you can within your own value system to make them comfortable. You know, if it's not going to hurt you to cut your beard, you cut your beard. If it's not going to hurt you, and it won't hurt you, to take your shoes off or leave them on, you do that. It's expanding your horizon of awareness so that you understand. You walk into the store, you know, bonjour madame, bonjour monsieur, merci beaucoup madame, merci beaucoup monsieur, even, or merci au revoir, merci au revoir. Doesn't matter if I bought anything or not. Hello, madame. Thank you. Au revoir. Goodbye. Merci, au revoir. Because this is a way that is going to make the other more comfortable. We're going to meditate now. This teaching is a hard teaching to communicate. Because so much in the West, so much is about being number one, being first, winning, being better than the other person. Not everybody can win. And I'm going to close with this one true story that I found most remarkable. There's a young woman who was an Olympian, and as I recall, it was a speed skating sport that she was in. And she wrote afterwards how she was so thrilled. She went to the Olympics. She made the U.S. team for the Olympics. And so she would be telling people, yeah, just came back from the Olympics. It was wonderful. Wonderful. Oh, did you win first prize? No. Oh, did you win in the top 3? No. She said, in fact, I didn't even place. But I went to the Olympics. I went as an Olympian, and I am going to practice and practice and practice for the next 4 years, and I hope I get to go back. And she said that people's faces would fall when she said she hadn't won a medal or placed in the top 10. Right? You know? And she said, they don't understand. I went to the Olympics. I had this enormously wonderful experience in my life. Why should I be sad? I'll practice again and again. And maybe I'll get a medal, maybe I won't. But it's not about the medal. It's about the experience. It doesn't matter if you're number 1, my beloved, or number 2 or number 3. It matters that you're living your life with happiness, with joy, with compassion, that you are making a difference to others in your life by the way you live, that you made it a little bit easier by letting the person go in front of you in the grocery store. You made somebody more comfortable by pulling over and letting them go past you on the road. That you thought, you were thoughtful, that you smiled, that you listened, that you were kind. That you became less aggressive and more willing to serve life as best as you can. And in the end of this incarnation, as you're stepping into the doorway to the next incarnation, this is what will matter. This is what you will remember, is the goodness that you have done, the goodness that you have shared. And so now we are going to meditate. Really the most sacred part of our time together, using our spiritual energies to lift ourselves and to send blessings unto the world. Sit with your spine erect. Place your hand in the Om Mudra, the index finger and the thumb together. Placed upon your thighs. And turn your head to the left with a double exhalation. Bring the head back to the center and begin to watch the breath. Use the sipping breath. Pull the energy from the limbs to the trunk. From the trunk to the spinal column. From the base of the spine to the sun center. Move that energy as a golden ball of light out in front of you. And sweep it around to the left. Encasing your body 3 times in golden light. And now ascend upward. Ascend to the high place. Above the room, above the continent, ascend to the high place. Reaching the high place, you see in front of you a path leading up the mountain. You enter upon the path, walking into a forest. The light pours upon you through the trees. The ground is covered with the flowers of the spring forest. The white flowers spreading out in front of you as far as your eye can see. mixed in with the golden blue as you walk through the forest. Ascend, ascend, ascend. You come to a clearing, and there is a meadow filled with the bluebirds, the butterflies, the hummingbirds, filled with the flowers. And you walk through the field, you walk through the meadow. And you ascend. Back into a forest, a high mountain forest. You're halfway up the mountain. A clearing opens in front of you. Filled with light. You walk into the shrine and walk to the back of the shrine. Walking into the pool of light, your clothes begin to dissolve away, and you walk into the waterfall of light. All of the clothing, all of the skin, all of the oldness begins to dissolve away. All of the difficult karmas are washed clean in the waterfall of light. Breathe in the light as the water pours over you, pours in you, pours through you. Feel yourself filled with light. And your body begins to levitate a small bit. Walk forth from the light, refreshed anew. Breathe in the light. As you walk through the shrine, clothed anew, feeling strengthened and vivified. Walk forth from the shrine, and waiting for you outside the shrine is your Ishta Devata, your chosen form of the divine. Your form of the divine, your Ishta, reaches out its hand to you. You reach out your hand, take hold of the hand of your Ishta. Smile as you do so, and ascend. Ascend to the top of the mountain, the highest mountain. Ascend to the top. You reach the top of the mountain. You find a place to sit. You and your Ishta see a cave entrance. You ask your Ishta to stand at the entrance to the cave. As your Ishta stands in the entrance, a golden egg of light projects forth from the Jupiter chakra of your Ishta. Your Ishta comes back to stand by you. The egg of light grows. And from the egg projects forth Prema Yogi. Prema begins to breathe Prema Kriya, this special Kriya only breathed by this sacred being. Prema inhales Prema Hong, inhaling all of the difficult karmas upon the earth. Prema exhales Prema Saw, exhaling Anandic bliss. As Prema inhales Prema Hong, the karmas from within the earth, upon the earth, around the earth are inhaled in. Prema exhales Prema Saw, Anandic bliss radiates forth around the earth, within the earth, upon the earth. As you watch, Prema continues to breathe, and Prema now merges into the mountain, becoming one with the mountain. You can see the imprint of Prema upon the mountain, and know that Prema is continuing to breathe this sacred Prema Kriya. Inhaling Prema Hong, all of the karmas from around the earth, upon the earth, within the earth. Exhaling Prema Saw, sending blessings of Anandic bliss around the earth, within the earth, upon the earth. You know that Prema will continue to breathe this Kriya until this mountain becomes a hill, until this hill becomes no more. Taking hold of the hand of your Ishta, you return to your high place of meditation, knowing that Prema continues to send blessings forth. O ye powers that be, thou knowest better than we where these blessings are needed. As we chant the Om Shanti mantra, we ask you to send these blessings to the earth, to those who are living with food insecurity, with water insecurity, with housing insecurity, with financial insecurity, with health insecurity, with emotional insecurity. For those who are living in confinement, in fear, may their way be lifted. May the karma be softened. And let us chant the Om Shanti mantra 3 times. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. O ye powers that be, pour forth thy blessings upon all those souls who are working to leave the earth at this time. Clear their path. Help them to remember their good deeds. May their transition to their new life be blessed. Again, the Om Shanti mantra. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And for those souls who are entering the earth, may they remember their goodness. May their new incarnation be blessed. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Returning now from the high place, hold this sense of sweetness with you. Remember your good deeds. Remember your goodness. May your mind be clear on that which is important to you in this incarnation. May you let go of all those things in your life which are not important to the One. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste ji. Namaskar. Thank you for the blessings of your presence, for your being here, for your meditative energies. Be thou blessed.